Welcome to the Sunday build stream. Today, we're building a PC for Mr. Bendy. And I actually just found out this morning that Bendy is currently in the hospital, so I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I hope you get well soon. So I hope that the build stream gives you some entertainment while you're hanging out over there. But I do hope you get well soon and get out of there. Meanwhile, over here, we're going to be putting together your PC while you're on the mend. And I do have actually some surprises for you here, if you can't already see them. But originally, we quoted out and paid for, originally, the Core i7 12700K, along with a B660 motherboard and 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM. Well, Mr. Bendy, today, we are actually upgrading you from the i7 to the i9 and getting you on DDR5. It actually was so long since the time that we quoted this out and the time that you paid for the parts and the time that we actually went to order the parts when the check finally cleared. It was so long that I looked and I was like, we can get the i9 and the Z690 on a DDR5 platform for the same price that we originally quoted back then for the i7. So here we are today. Instead of the i7, we're going to go with an i9. It's 12th gen, so it's the i9 12900K. We're going to be putting you on a Z690 motherboard, which is a much better motherboard. Much better VRMs. And we're also doing the Ripjaws. DDR5 6000 megahertz, 32 gigs. So, and it's G-Skill, Ripjaws. And we also updated the storage from 1 terabyte to 2 terabytes Gen 4. So you have double the storage, you have DDR5 RAM, you went up a complete level on the CPU, and we got you a better motherboard. All for the same price. Because that's what we do. So I hope you're not mad at me for the surprise upgrade for the same price. And the main reason why is when you originally sent the check, the i7 was more expensive, the motherboard was more expensive, and the RAM was more expensive. All of that came down in price since we've received the check and actually got the funds to do the build. So I was like, kind of can't just run with the extra cash. How much for a good running computer? Well, what kind of games are you looking to play on there? Let me know what type of games you're looking to play on the PC, and I can kind of give you an idea of what ballpark price you're looking at. And it would depend also if you're building yourself, or if you're having us build it, or buying it somewhere else. Usually it's more expensive. But this should be a perfect example. We always try to get everybody the best bang for their buck. Because originally he started out with an i7. Now we have him on an i9. Ta-da. Oh, cool! Bendy, I hope you liked the surprise. We went from the i7 to the i9. We did stay with the 3070 Ti though. I was trying to squeeze the 4070 in there, and it just wasn't going to fit with the i9. I would rather get you on a better platform than better graphics card, because this is going to allow you to upgrade it to a better graphics card later. Much better. We also updated the power supply from the original standard ATX power supply to a Sedgwick 850 watt with the PCIe 5.0 support. So that way, if you ever go to upgrade to a 4070 Ti or higher, you've got the 600 watt cable ready to go from the power supply. Direct from the power supply to the card. So, much better upgrade path for this build overall than what we originally quoted back when we quoted this. I don't remember when we actually quoted it, but it was quite some time ago. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the motherboard, CPU, RAM, the LGA bracket. Did we run through all the rest of the parts? I don't know. So, the build, we'll just run through it real quick. So we got the Intel i9 12900K. We've got that put onto a Z690 Aurora Elite AX. We've got the DDR5 6000 megahertz, 32 gigs. of Ripjaw's G-Skill. We've got a 2TB M.2 SSD Gen 4 by Silicon Power. We've got a Thermalright LGA 1700 contact plate. We've got some power supply cables to match the bluish theme that we're looking for. The Sejotep 850 watt power supply, which is 80 plus gold, and also has the PCI 5.0 and ATX 3.0 support out of the box. So it's going to be better for those upgrades. We're going to be running, for the graphics card, the Gigabyte, pairing with the Gigabyte motherboard. The RTX 3070 Ti, so it's a great card, very powerful. This is also factory OC'd and gets us into that GDDR 6X memory. We're also cooling with a Thermalright Frozen Note 360mm AIO black, has addressable RGB fans, and then the case that we're building in is the Montech Sky, which is an ATX mid tower with, it's kind of like a Lian Li knockoff in a way, 011 knockoff, but it's not. It's more of a standard ATX tower. So it's kind of like a mixture of the Lian Li 011 and the Height Y60, kind of, in a way. Wanting to run GTA, Apex, Call of Duty like very smoothly. So when you say very smoothly, are you also trying to stream or do anything else in the back while you're also gaming, or just gaming? That also makes a difference on what kind of horsepower and what we're going to recommend. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this to top down while we wait for that question to be answered there. But if you're going to be gaming, you could probably start out with a great PC for around $1,000 to $1,200, and that'll get you to run all those games very smoothly. Call of Duty is probably the most demanding. GTA can be with the mods, if you're planning to mod GTA. Yes, mostly streaming. Okay, so if you're streaming, then you're going to want to be more in the $1,500 range, $1,500 and up. But to start, you could easily get an i9 12900K like this system. This system, as an example, this system was $1,500 in that range. So i9 12900K, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM, a Z690 motherboard, 2 terabytes of M.2 Gen 4 storage, a RTX 3070 Ti. You could stream with this all day. Stream and game, and your games are going to be super smooth. But that's us building it. You could probably build it yourself for cheaper if you're planning to build. So, this depends on how you want to go. And if you're looking for us to do the build, feel free to go to the website, select custom builds, and fill out the custom builds form, which is on empowergamingpcs.com, and then you'll be able to just send us that information and we'll put together that custom quote for you. I can actually send that to you right now. All right, so I just sent over the link that I was just talking about for the custom builds. If you want us to do a custom build, we could do that there. So feel free to fill that form out and send it over, and then we'll send over a estimate for the build. But just as an example, we could do something like this for $1,500, and then you'll be able to stream anything you want on an Intel i9, and your video editing is going to be super quick and easy. With the Gen 4 SSD and DDR5 RAM. Your upgrade path on this system is you could literally take this 3070 Ti out in a year and put a 4090 in there if you wanted to. I guess maybe the power supply would need a little bit of an upgrade if you're planning on doing that. So make sure you tell us that you're planning to put like a 4090 in there, and then we'll make sure there's a 1,000 watt power supply in there ready to go for that 4090 later down the road. Awesome. Yeah, check it out. We're going to go ahead and get started with this build real quick. This build's going to be probably about an hour-ish long. So Pull up your snacks, boys. We also have a GPU stand for this, but don't think that Gigabyte card includes it. We always want to make sure we have support for that card, especially the bigger cards. The bigger cards like to sag, and we don't want sag. Sag is bad. Sag is no bueno. Alright, so here's our Gigabyte Z690 motherboard. A massive board with a lot of great heat sinks on it, especially over the VRMs. That's what we want to see. We want to see the heat sinks over these VRMs here, because this is what delivers power to the Intel i9. So we're going to start off by getting the CPU installed, and then we're going to also install the Thermalright LGA 1700 bracket, which is what you want when you're working with any LGA 1700. It helps keep the CPU as level as possible, and the reason why we want it level is because if it's not, if the CPU is not level, when the cooler makes contact, if it's bowed, it's not going to make complete contact, and if it's not making complete contact, then it's not going to cool as well. So we want the CPU as flat as possible when there's pressure being pushed down on it. We don't want it to bow in any way, shape, or form. So this little $10 LGA 1700 contact frame is only $10. And it gives you about a 10 degrees Celsius difference with the temperatures just by running it, which is huge, especially for an Intel i9 that is going to run hot, and you want it to get as cool as possible to perform better. So always use the LGA 1700 brackets when you're working with LGA 1700, especially when they're only $10. Kind of stupid not to. So we'll drop the CPU into the socket here, just so we have it protecting those pins right off the bat, because we don't want anything to happen to those pins while we're removing the stock bracket. Get our wrench out, and then we'll start removing these screws. And then we'll get our contact frame out. So this is all it is. It's just a piece of metal, and what it has is a lip that grabs a hold of all sides of the CPU and just holds it down in place where it needs to. And it keeps it flat. Or it helps keep it flat anyway. So the stock contact frame is actually going to be included, as well as this wrench, so that way if Mr. Bendy ever has to remove this CPU for whatever reason, he will be able to do so because he has the tools. And then if he ever sells the motherboard or something later down the road, he has the stock brackets to go with the board. So he'll have all the tools and parts that he needs that come with the parts included with the build. A lot of places don't do that. We do. Making sure all four corners are as level as possible there. Alright, so moving on to our RAM. We've got 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 megahertz. So quite a bit of an upgrade from the 32 gigs DDR4 3200 we originally had in the invoice. So ta-da, double the speed. Hope you weren't expecting that, Bendy. Hope it's more like a surprise, motherfucker. Excuse my French. What? Oh, what? Oh, what? How do you have one of these? Where'd you get it from? You get it from my package right here? Take it from right there? Alright, I'm sorry, Gen 4 M.2. We've got a 2 terabyte M.2 here. Which again is double the SSD than what we originally quoted and invoiced. We doubled up on the storage. Got DDR5 instead of DDR4 RAM. Got an Intel i9 instead of an Intel i7 that we quoted. We got way more computer here than what we originally invoiced for because it took so long to get the check. Alright, so we're going to install the heatsink here back onto the SSD now that it's installed in the M.2 slot. Alright, we got our CPU, our RAM, and an SSD installed. Next up, what we really want to do, hey, what's going on? Good morning. It's actually afternoon over here, Eastern time. But good morning to you. Good afternoon. So there we go. We've got all of our core components here installed onto the motherboard. Next, I'm going to get the Thermalright close enough. No worries, man. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, so open a beer. But we're gonna go ahead and get the cooler kit or hardware out. We can get that ready on the motherboard here. The mounting hardware for the cooler. I'm actually super excited for this case that we're going to be building in, because I've actually not built in it yet. I had a couple of buddies of mine build into it before, and they said it was great. So, looking forward to building this case. Here's our mounting hardware and our cooler. Whoa. So how are you doing today, sir? I'm still sipping coffee. Come on. Work with Daddy. Alright, so this is our LGA 1700 bracket. We're going to extend them out to 1700 position. And then install this bracket from the back side. From the back door. Doing good! If I install a second M.2, will the PC auto-detect it? Yes, it'll auto-detect it, but if it's a brand new drive, you will have to initialize the drive in Windows, and then you will have to create a partition. So what you'll do is install it with the PC turned off, obviously. Once you fire up once you have it installed and you fire up your PC, you're going to go to Disk Manager and go, which is under Computer Management. So just in the search bar on the Start menu, type in Disk Manager, pull up the Disk Manager, go in there and find the disk that is not initialized. It might even just pop up and say, hey, initialize this disk that's new, and just initialize it. Once that's initialized, then you got to create a partition. There's a lot of good YouTube videos on how to do that process, but once the partition is created, then you'll be able to use it as storage. So that is one of the additional steps when you add storage to a PC. You do have to initialize and then what do you call it? Create the partition. It just takes a couple of minutes to do it. It's really not that difficult. And if you do need any help doing it, sir, just reach out to me. I am happy to walk you through it. Or you can do it right here on the stream, and I'll walk you through it. There we go. We are ready for liftoff. Our bracket is installed. Our mounting hardware is installed. We're ready to grab that case and throw this board in there. Making some super fast progress on this build. I'm loving it. So the color on this case is probably going to shock you guys. Look at that color. It's a blue. Oh, this is the color blue that you were talking about, Bendy. It's a really nice color. I actually really like this color. Look at that color. Let's take that glass off and get a better look at it. How many PCs have you seen this color? Nice. Hope that's enough blue for you. Actually, we have more blue here. And actually, I wanted to see if these colors blended well enough. So definitely going to go with these combs. These are too blue. Well, pretty close. A little bit brighter on these, but I think I like that instead of it all being the same color. I tried my best to match these up. All right. So we need to cut that. Tie. For our hardware. And then we'll lift this bad boy up. Oh, that's a bottom fan. The hardware is actually on the back side still. My bad. I'm gonna put this over here so I don't scratch it. Bumping it. Here's our hardware. All right. We are ready to drop this board in there. All of our studs are in the right places here for this board. We should be pretty much ready to drop this in without any trouble. Super nice looking case, man. I love it. Good color, sir. Good color. Good choice. If anybody's wondering, they give you plenty of zip ties with the case. And also, the packages for the screws are very nicely labeled. Love it. Love to see that. Thank you, Montech, for going the extra mile. Alright, so there's 9 screws for a standard ATX case motherboard installation. Three rows of 3. And there we are. We've got our motherboard installed. Starting to look like a gaming PC already. And these fans are reversed for awareness. What that means is the airflow is being, that's our intake. Even though it looks like they're backwards, these are reversed fins. So it's pushing the airflow in, which by the way is awesome. I see a lot of more companies doing that more and more, and that's for the aesthetics of having the fans facing the front rather than the back of the fan facing the front, which is how you would normally have to do that in order to get the right airflow. But I think it's great. I like seeing that from companies doing that. No go on that one. Need this one. That one. These two. No on that. That's why I bought 2 kits. We needed 2 of the EPS. And they didn't supply it in a kit with 2 of them. I had to buy 2 of them. And then we'll probably need another PCIe. If I remember correctly, this card is a bigger card. Either way, I'll supply 3. So he has an extra one if he ever upgrades. Alright, so we're going to put some... excuse me. Going to put some cable combs on these cables, and we're going to install the EPS cables here at the top, and may as well do the 24 pin, and then we'll get the rest of these cables here at the top before we put the cooler in, because once we put that cooler in, it's going to be very difficult to get our fingers back there, because it'll be tight. It'll be tight, a tight reach. This is our CPU cable fan. This will be what controls the speed of the fans on the radiator. Cable combs. It's time for cable combs. We're going to go with these transparent looking ones. I think that looks better with the build colors. More cable combs. All right, so now we do the 24 pin. Now that we got the two EPS 8-pin cables installed, we're going to be doing the 24 pin for the motherboard power. I got to do cable combs on this. We usually do about 3. Give it a nice good curve from the connection into the back of the case. One more cable comb here. All right, ready to send this through. Get that plugged in. I think I want to get this down a little bit more. And tighter curve than I anticipated. I need to move it down a little bit. Go. That'll look good. Look at that. Nice. Like the looks of that. Love it. All right, so now we can move on to the cooler. We're going to mount that at the top. I need to pull this top panel off. And then I believe we're going to have to rotate these fans. Yes, sir. These fans need to be rotated. They're facing the wrong way. All the cables are on the wrong position. We can undo all these screws that were pre-installed. And rotate. And rotate. I'm going to loosen this one as well because it's a little tight. Rotate. Alright, so now I gotta undo all of these twist ties. All of these wonderful little twist ties. If you haven't caught on, I actually hate twist ties. I do 5,000 of them a week. Fuck that one, it fell down. But the fans are in the right position now, because we needed the cables on this side of the radiator. They were pre-installed facing the wrong way. Assuming that the hoses would be towards the back of a PC, I wish Thermal Right would change that. Almost every install I do, the tubes are facing the front and the cables are facing the wrong way. Pre-installed. Alright, so now that that's taken care of, now we have to kind of position this in such a way where we can shove some of these cables back there, while also getting this plugged in. This is going to be our addressable RGB chain. Actually, we're just going to use the hub in the back. Screw it. I lied. Right, I'm a liar. And then these three cables need to get pushed back there somehow, while all making this fit. Oh, come on, Betsy. There we go. That's what we want to see. A solid fit. Now you can see on this particular case, we have 1, 2, 3 different lines here and 2 here, and that is so we can offset if you have RAM that's taller. Currently in our situation, we have a VRM heatsink that is taller on the motherboard and wouldn't allow us to put it in closer. So it allows us to offset built right into the case, which, by the way, I think is amazing. I'm so sick of case manufacturers not providing offset for the top of the case when it's needed. Leon Lee does, and it looks like Montech is doing it now, which is absolutely awesome because it's there. That little bit of detail tells me that they're paying attention to the newer hardware that's being released. All right, all of the screws have been installed for the cooler. We are ready to lay this back down. Oh yeah, we got to pull these through real quick. The rest of the way. Two. Where's number 3? Ah. Two of these. There's 3. Okay, so all the cables should be pulled through nicely. We do have one cable that's kind of stuck, and I'm going to have to encourage way through. Yep. There we go. We got a nice, cool looking route for our EPS cables here. That gives it that blue look here. Super cool looking. How it's sneaking up and around the cooler there. It's not getting in the way for either of these fans. Awesome. Good look to it. Now it's time to block the CPU. Not with a blockade, but with a copper block. We're going to be putting the tubes on the bottom here. Trying to. Don't know how this... There we go. Now we need thermal paste. We're going to be using the Thermal Grizzly. Good premium stuff. Lasts over a year, usually, under some extreme heat conditions. And we just add an extra couple of dots for the on the X pattern with the longer CPU, just to make sure that we got all of it. All right, so now we're ready to put this down. We've removed the plastic from the copper. Now we're putting the block on the CPU, and then using these little thumb nuts to secure it and apply pressure, down pressure to the CPU, which pushes down on the pins in the socket. Boy, this thing's looking so badass already. I love it. Dude, this color is a badass color. I like it a lot. Bendy, I might use this as a pre-build option. Clo. Yes. I'm building. Building a PC. What are you doing? Oh, you're racing your car? Okay. Alright, so this thing's looking pretty badass already. Not a whole lot more we have to do here. We just have to get the power supply installed, the graphics card installed, deal with a few cables. We're good to go. You know? Not a whole lot left. This bad boy through here in order to get it through there, get fed back through there. Anybody following this? In order to get to the pump header, I don't want to just plug it into a SATA power. I want the motherboard to control the pump so that we have control of the RPM on the pump, which is this guy. Where's my pump header? What the H? See top. Where's my pump header? Better not be all the way through. How does this board not have a pump header? Pump down here. That's for like open loop pump. No pump up here. I got CPU option pump. Run it like a pump. Or run it to the pump header down there, which is what I would prefer to do, with an extension. With my extenders. I have some extensions here just for this situation. It's like I'm ready for anything. Just can't quite reach. I plug it into the extender, and then the extender is going to go to the pump header, which is all the way down here at the bottom. And it would be because this board is for bigger PC with an open loop. Yeah, that's what they're indicating. Why it's down there. There we go. So we got our pump plugged in, and all our cables routed to where we needed them. We'll get this cleaned up once we zip tie everything later on the back. But we are ready to start grabbing some of the cables on the backside, plugging them in before we put the graphics card in. So we have USB 3, USB-C up here from the top, and everything else is on the bottom. That's just me talking myself through the next step, because we have all these cables plug in. More twist ties. Alright, so we've got a USB-C that we talked about earlier. Going to be going here to get where it needs to go. Then we have USB, or I'm sorry, HD audio, which is going here to get where it needs to go. Then we have USB 3.0, which again we talked about. It's going here at the top. And then we have front panel, which again, Montech paying attention. It's all one unit now, instead of having multiple. Then we have fan, which we know all our fan headers are down here. And that's for our hub up there. And then an addressable RGB connection, which this one I have to double check. I believe it's on the back side of the board. Here it is, down here. Alright, flip it over and plug it in. Flow. Yes. Oh, I'm building still. Still building. There's our USB 3. And this is our USB-C front panel. We need to pull these taut. I'll get those tighter once we zip tie stuff up. System fan 1. And then this guy is our front panel connector, which I needed on this side of the pump header. Come on, work with daddy. Front panel connector in. Now we just need an RGB header and all HD audio. That's our 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header. And then our front panel HD audio, which is our microphone and AUX connector on the front panel of the case. That's all connected. Next, what is next? What are we ready for next? The graphics card? Or are we putting that bottom fan in? I think we put this bottom fan in here. Ooh, I like that. Look at that hole. I'm weird, I know. So this is another reversed fan that was intentionally included with the case, put at the bottom, and that will produce intake from the side, the bottom here, for the graphics card. Direct intake, which is really cool. And that's why the side of this case is vented. I think that's awesome. I think I'm going to just put it right here in the center. I think that's going to be the best position for it, performance-wise. This is going to provide cooling for all three of the fans, I think. Or do we put it here? But the power supply will be blocking it, mostly. So I'd rather put it here. It'll have better flow. Dang it. Line up for me, bud. There we go. Now that that's all done, we can move on to the graphics card. And do the power supply, then do a bunch of cable management. We're firing it up, and we're done. which by the way is an RTX 3070 Ti. And this is the 3 fan. I believe it's the Aurora's, right? Wind Force edition. Whatever. A great card regardless. And it really goes good with this theme we have going in the PC. And again, this is something that you'll be installing, Bendy, so just make sure you line up the card, push it into the slot with the gold pins where it belongs. You'll see the slot there. And you can also go back to this video and use it as a reference. Then there's 2 screws here on the side that you'll have to install. You'll have to remove those before you put the card in. And then you'll have 2 power cords that'll plug in here. Then, last but not least, you'll have a little kickstand here, which is magnetic, and that'll help hold the weight of the card up. And just make sure when you install the kickstand not to let it hit one of the fans on the bottom underneath the card. But that'll help hold the weight of the card when it's standing up so it doesn't sag. And it is magnetic, the peg or the kickstand. Alright, so blue cables for our GPU. Continuing the theme of the build. That has a broken clip. That's annoying. And then we're going to do some cable combs here and route the cables, do the power supply, do some cable management, and we are off to firing this bad boy up finally for the first time. Get life. There's one. Now we just need one more set of cable combs on here. There we go. The 2 cables in the hole, ready to go. Now, we flip it over, put the power supply in. Do some cable management and fire it up. But first, a sip of Folgers. It's actually getting cold. Gosh dang it. More twist ties, ladies and gentlemen. More twist ties. Don't know if I can keep doing this. One day I'm just gonna snap. Be the last twist tie. To the last straw, it's gonna be the last twist tie. Would help if I was plugging the right end into the power supply. So this is a modular power supply, which means the cables you have to plug in yourself manually. But it makes it so that if you don't want extra cables in your case or in your build, you don't need them. We're going to do both of the PCIEs because we want 2 PCIe, 1 for each cable. We're not going to use this what do you call it, method? Pigtail method. That is just dumb. Don't do that in your build. Pigtail method is dumb. I slap builders' wrists when they use pigtails. Although I used a pigtail once. Or twice. Had no choice. But when there is a choice, that is definitely when I slap wrists. Alright, I put all the cables on the power supply to make sure that the cables go with the PC wherever it goes. They'll never be missing. I gotta move some of these cables out of the way, and then slide the power supply in from the side. Popped off. Okay. There we go. Now we just need 4 screws to screw it in. Some zip ties. And we just got to plug things in and do cable management. We're ready to fire it up. Almost there, Bendy. If you're watching, almost ready. Ready for you to give us the fire command. Oh dear. Alright, so all this mess is going this way, out of our way. This needs to go this way. These need to be re-zip tied. This needs to go up this way. Perfect. This. Wait a minute. What else? This guy needs to be ran up here as well if it can reach. Will. And we just gotta open these up. Start cable management here. Dang it. Don't worry, I'm going to be undoing that and probably redoing it here in a minute. That is not final. Not final. All right. One CPU. What? Or what? These should be the CPU right here. Oh. Plus a SATA cable. These need to go up this way. We start zip tying from the top, work way down. I think I just shot a zip tie somewhere. Alright, so this 24 pin. I have to go around this stuff. It's going to go up to this 24 pin. And connect. And we're really just going to zip tie it like so it stays nice and neat. Swap around. Too much anyway. Stuff this back into the basement. Get in there, you! Don't really have any cable options here. Strange. Strange. I mean, literally nothing to tie to anywhere else on the case except for in the channel, which is definitely not big enough for cable like this. Guess I'm going to tie it here. Run a zip tie here. Not where I'd want to put one, but don't really have a choice. Okay. That's all said and done. I have a SATA connection somewhere. I think buried. Don't want to miss that. PCIe. Then we got the front top cooler. These two bad boys get their own individual cable connections as well, which is two PCIe connections to these blue extenders that we have down here. Add some good flavor to the build. And we're just going to stuff these into the basement as well. Two of them. And we've got all these SATA power connections. A 600 watt. We're going to tidy up. There we go. And then we have to get these addressable RGB connections installed or plugged in, and also this WM connector for the cooler fan or the radiator fans, plugged into the CPU header. And then we gotta get a zip tie around this bundle of joy. Another zip tie around this bundle of joy. And one more that I do. Trying to pull back. I just don't want that to happen when we're putting the case on or something. I want it to like get snagged, put back of the case on. Okay. Bendy, I hope this is clean enough for you. Pretty good cable management here. Let's see what it looks like on the other side. Make sure it looks nice and neat still. Which, for the most part, it does, minus cables doing whatever the hell they're doing here. Almost tempted to just switch them here. Gonna do. Don't know how I ended up crisscrossing them down there, but problem solved. Here we go. Losing this guy. Looking good. Looking like a clean PC build, if you ask me. Loose connection there. Got to correct. Okay, so now we can clean this up a little bit. We'll get it fired up. Ready for this, Bendy? Put that back panel on. We'll get it plugged in, fired up. And we have the top panel. And probably should put the glass panel on. I don't know, we'll see. Such a pretty blue. Forgot, because we have the top panel off, that glass panel can pop off. Cool design though. Any plastic on the inside? I should have first before I did this. There is. Probably gonna want to peel that off. Yes. I'm still building. Almost done. Alright, we're getting ready to fire this bad boy up. I know. Yeah. Are you home? Yeah. Alright, let's get a different view here. You ready to see this, Bendy? Ready to see this thing fired up for the first time? I don't know if you're actually here watching with us. All right, so sorry about that. We had a delivery. I had a sign for it. Good thing the door's right there. All right, firing it up, Bendy. Here we go. I actually helped to push the power button on this on the power supply. Oops. Yeah, I pushed the power button and my heart stopped for a second. I'm like, uh-oh. And then I actually pushed the power supply button to on, then pushed the power button. But it is DDR5, so it is going to take a minute to actually post. So here we wait. Yeah, I know. Wait, where? What, here? Oh. Oops. Hello, Chloe? Still waiting for it to post. All right, we got it. I don't know if you see it on the capture card down below here, but we're posted to the BIOS, and we have a Z690 12th gen Intel Core, i9 12900K, 32 gigs of DDR5, currently running at 4800 megahertz because we haven't set the XMP profile, but we will not do that until after we do the BIOS update. So, Bendy, I hope you like your build. It's blue, just the way you like it. I know the RGB isn't really super colorful right now. There I'll just change it from the hub, but it was running from the software. Gigabyte is, when you first start Gigabyte boards, they always go orange when it's synced. But that's what it'll look like with RGB. Let's try to get a blue color. With a blue. Kind of cool looking, actually. Super cool looking. And don't worry, you can also change the graphics card from the software once we get that installed and start managing it. This is a white mixed with the blue case, which actually looks pretty damn cool. And then we're back to some different modes from the case. Super cool looking. Either way, I actually really like this case. It was a breeze to build in. I like the color blue. And I will probably be using this case and design for some of our pre-builds in the future. So, awesome. But thank you, Bendy, for putting this order in. I hope you were super excited to get this because, and I hope you enjoyed the upgrades that we got you. And I am super excited to get this shipped out to you as soon as possible. We do have to finish up a couple other builds on the test bench behind us before we can get this on the test bench and start working with it. But overall, we should have it shipped out by Tuesday, Wednesday is when you should have tracking information, and it should be on its way. So let me know if you have any questions. Until then, thank you everybody for joining the stream. I'm going to end it here, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good night, guys. Thank you, Carol, for the like over on Facebook. Grandma. Have a good day, guys.